Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again. Happy Tuesday, happy Thursday. My bad. Happy Thursday. It's always an honor to come and have this interview. My name is Aline Umutuni. It's my honor and pleasure to have you here on my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, wherever you are watching this conversation from. So, first of all, I want to thank you because yesterday my heart was so overwhelmed by your birthday wishes, your prayers, your gifts. Some of you send me gifts. I am so humbled to know that you thought of me during my 33rd birthday. It was great. I got to rest. I got to enjoy myself, and now I'm back to do the purpose and the thing that just warmed my heart. I know that many of you know me as a hydrogeologist or a published author or a life coach or a wealth coach or a preacher or a teacher or whatsoever that you think I am. But my favorite thing to do is to literally um, um, help people become the best version of themselves. And one of the things that help people become the best version of themselves, it's embracing the truth that they've gone through, embracing their pain, embracing their past, so that they can be the best version of themselves. I myself, I had to embrace my past. I had to embrace the fact that I was sexually abused from the age of 16 to 19. I had to embrace the fact that I survived the genocide against the Tutsis of 1994. Watched my father being killed. Lost my mother at 13 months. Soon it's going to be exactly 32 years that my mother was killed in a car crash on November 7th. It's gonna be 32 years that my mom passed away. So all of these things made me who I am, and I had to go through therapy for me. Yes, prayer is great, prayer is awesome, like prayer is all that we need to do first, but prayer does not fully heal. Like, the Bible says faith without work is dead. Prayer is your faith, but the work, putting in the work, is therapy. So I had to go to therapy because when I left Rwanda at 5 during the genocide, I had PTSD. I could not sleep at night. I was afraid of everything. Name it. Knife, a fork was triggering me. A knife was triggering me. Like a gun, let alone a gun, was even worse. So I had to go through therapy. The first 5 therapists told me that I would never be a good person. That I was so traumatized that there was no hope for me. I had to stay at home. I didn't go to school like immediately, because I was so traumatized that I could not really relate to any kids, because I was not trusting. I was not talking. But even though the first 5 therapists were not hopeful, I am grateful that I had 10 more therapists. So in total, I had 15 therapists, but that actually pushed me to embrace and talk about the pain and the thing that I've watched, so that I can be able to experience healing and freedom. So today, I'm going to interview a woman that is not only a genocide survivor, so she's going to talk to us about her story, her walk to survival. She wrote a book. She wrote a book. She's an author too, but she's a therapist. She became a therapist after, of course, after the genocide, and she also had started a foundation in her pursuit to help people find healing. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her to the platform. So just a moment. Okay. So, hi. Sorry.
Hi,
Hi. Oh yes, Mr. Francois, we can
hi.
hear you. Okay, so Mr. We're gonna start with Mr. Francois. Could you please introduce yourself? Mr. Francois is, I don't call him the interpreter. I call
Can you
him the
hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. So he's a contributor to the conversation, because not only he's going to be interpreting, but he is a contributor because he is a retired professor, and he has a lot of knowledge that is really important, because for us to talk about the history, we need people that are experienced, that went through that not only went through but study it and have more knowledge, because I was 5 years old during the genocide, so I didn't even know that I was Tutsi, so I can't help in any history or whatsoever. So I'm so glad to have Mr. Francois and Mr. Omis that's in this journey. So Mr. Francois, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I think that we have just done it. My name is Ntaganda Francois Xavier, a retired lecturer from the National University of Rwanda, and I am married, have a wife and three children, and for the time being, I sometimes do some freelance interpreting and translation, and this is how I feature on this platform. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And next Monday, he's not going to be the interpreter. I am going to be interpreting, because he's going to be sharing his story of how he survived the genocide against the Tutsis of 1959. He was 11 years old during the first genocide that occurred in 1959. So I cannot wait to be on Monday, because I know it's going to be an amazing interview. So, Mr. Francois, thank you. And again, I always say you are an answer to my prayer. Like, I've been praying to have a professor and a professor from the university where my dad and my mother met and they studied. So I'm so glad. I am so honored to have you. So next, Mr. Omisdas, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Ms Cécile. I'm author of two books, and I live in Rwanda with my wife and the two children. And I am a former social service manager in a teaching hospital of Butare.
So today we are really loaded with social workers. We have a therapist, we have a social worker, and then we have a professor. Mr. Franco, what did you teach? What was your specialty in the teaching?
The quality of the sound is so bad.
Sorry, I was asking what was your specialty? What did you teach at the University of Rwanda?
What did I do? What
did you teach?
Yeah. Languages. I taught literature.
Okay,
literature,
so we have
African literature, American literature, English literature in English.
Oh, okay. So we have a professor in literature and languages, and then we have a social worker and a therapist, and then we have like me. I feel like I'm like the black sheep. I am not a literate. I mean, I am a geologist. I speak the language of rocks. So, but I'm so glad to be here. So, without further ado, I'm going to give the time to Ms Cécile. Umwanya n'uwanyu mwisanzure. Monsieur Francois arabakemurira if atumva neza. I'm gonna pitch in case, but yeah, mwisanzure. Yeah.
Sinzi ko mbishobora biracika ntabwo numva ijwi neza kabisa.
Okay, nta kibazo ndabikora.
Nibiza kuimprovinga ndakomereza.
Okay, nta kibazo.
Okay, please start, and when the sound improves, I'll continue. I'll go on.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to be interpreting because Mr. Francois' connection is not good, so I'm going to be translating. So Ms Cécile mwisanzure ariko muvuge bike yaso nshobore kubikemura.
Murakoze. Nitwa Umurazawase Cécile, nkaba ndi umunyarwandakazi wacitse ku icumu rya jenoside yakorewe abatutsi, nkaba ndi clinical psychologist cyangwa se therapist nk'uko mwakomeje kubivuga.
Okay, so she says her name is Umurazawase Cécile, and she's originally from Rwanda, lives in Rwanda. She's a genocide survivor of the genocide against the Tutsis of 1994, and she's a psychologist, a clinical psychologist or a therapist.
Yego, murakoze. Ms François, nk'uko nari maze kubivuga, nacitse ku icumu rya jenoside yakorewe abatutsi. Ndumva nabasangiza histoire yanjye cyangwa se ubuhamya bwanjye n'ubwari burebure, nabushyize mu gitabo nanditse, buhera mu gihe cya mbere ya jenoside.
So she says that for her to start talking about herself, she would like to take us through her story of how she survived the genocide against the Tutsis of 1994, which is a story that she wrote in her biography, in her book. And she said that the story started even before the genocide started. The genocide started in 1994, but before the genocide. So she's going to walk us through before the genocide, during the genocide, and after the genocide.
Yego, murakoze. Navukiye mu muryango nakundaga, nkabona turi mu muryango wisanzura ukundana, ariko nkumva ko dufite abavandimwe cyangwa se abavandimwe b'ababyeyi banjye babaga hanze y'igihugu, bamwe babaga muri iyahoze ari Zaire, ubu ni Congo, abandi baba i Bugande cyangwa i Burundi. Noneho ngiye nkibaza impamvu tutabana mu Rwanda, ariko nkumva wenda ko ari uburyo bashobora kuba bagiye gushaka imirimo cyangwa gushaka ubuzima.
Okay, so she said she was born in a loving and pleasant family, with a blessed family. She was blessed to be born in a loving family, but her extended family, most of them were not living in Rwanda. They were living, some of them were living in Congo, in DRC. Zaire and DRC, right?
Yeah.
Okay, in DRC, yes, in DRC Congo, and others were living elsewhere. So she always wondered why were they not living? Why was it that they were not living in Rwanda? But in her mind, she thought that maybe they had gone outside of Rwanda to maybe look for work, become like you know, when you go outside to look for a job or a better life. So that was her understanding.
Naje gusobanukirwa rero nyuma ko ari uko bari baragiye nyine bahunze ubwicanyi bwari mu Rwanda ku bw'impamvu z'ivangura.
So she later found out that they did not leave Rwanda because they wanted to leave, but they left Rwanda because they were running away from the killings that happened because of the first genocide against the Tutsis of 1959.
Nanjye rero iryo vangura ryaje kungeraho niga primaire, nkajya mbona abarimu baduhagurutsa bakavuga ngo abatutsi nibahaguruke, abahutu nibahaguruke, abatwa bo ndumva ngiye nta nabo nigeze nigana nabo, baravugaga ngo n'abatwa, ariko bo hakaba uruhaguruka.
So she also experienced the discrimination and the division in her school when she was in primary school, because the teacher will come and they will always say the Tutsis stand up, the Hutus stand up, the Twa, but then she said in her school there was no Twa. So most of the time it was the division between the Tutsis and the Hutus. So she also experienced that kind of discrimination, racial discrimination, even in school, in primary school.
Umunsi umwe rero umwarimu njyewe yavuga ngo abahutu nibahaguruka abatutsi nibahaguruke, nkabura na hamwe mpaguruka kuko numvaga ntasobanukira ibyo ari byo. Hanyuma arankubita.
Oh wow. So when the teacher will ask, okay, let the Tutsi stand up or let the Hutu stand up, she didn't stand up because she didn't even know what Tutsi meant or Hutu meant. So when they will ask the Tutsi stand up or the Hutu stand up, she wouldn't stand up, so they will hit her.
Hanyuma maze kunkubita ndamubwira mbese ko duturanye, wenda wowe ukaba ushobora kuba uzi ubwoko bwanjye, wambwiye aho mpaguruka hariho.
So after the teacher hit her, she asked the teacher, she said, but since we are neighbors and you know my family, can you tell me what is my tribe so that I can stand up when they call the tribe? Because she did not know that she was Tutsi.
Yahise ambwira rero ngo nisohoke ntahe, ndataha arambwira ngo nigende njye kubaza ababyeyi banjye, bari bagiye mu kazi, aho mama aviriye mu kazi ndamusanga ndira cyane, ambaza icyabaye, mubwira ko yansobanurira ubwoko mperereyemo kugira ngo ejo nzamenye aho mpaguruka.
So the teacher told her to go home and ask her parents what was her tribe. So when she got home, her parents were at work. So when the mother came back from work, she asked the mom, she said, Mom, you need to explain to me what is our tribe, because I need to know so that tomorrow when they call out the tribes, I know where to stand.
Ubwo rero nibwo mama yansobanuriye, arambwira ati noneho nibongera kubaza abatutsi uzahaguruke.
So her mother said, okay, tomorrow when they call the tribes out, when they call the Tutsis, stand up.
Nsubiyeyo rero niko byagenze, ubwo n'indi myaka yagiye ikurikiraho, noneho babazaga abatutsi nanjye ngahaguruka. Hanyuma igihe igihe cyo gukora ikizamini cya leta gisoza amashuri abanza, nakoze ikizamini nk'abandi, ndatsinda.
Okay, so the same discrimination carried on, continued from primary school to secondary school. So then when it came to the exam, to the final exam, she took the examination, the final examination, and then she passed the exam.
Naratsinze n'amanota menshi 89, ndetse baransohora no kuri liste ko nagombaga kwiga hani Butare muri groupe scolaire officielle Indatwa.
Okay, sorry, mutegereze reka bikimu 89 ni 89, right?
Yes.
Okay, so she was a bright child, because she even performed well, and she had 89% result. Like her result was literally like she was an A plus result, and then she was admitted to a college in Butare.
Group score, it was the best.
So it was the best college in Butare, called
Groupe Scolaire Officiel de Butare.
I don't know how to translate that. Groupe Scolaire.
Yeah, it was the best. Yeah.
It was the best. Yeah. It was the best school. She was admitted to the best school in Butare.
Hanyuma ariko ngiye nyine banjyanye ku ishuri, ngezeyo nsanga ntabwo nkiri kuri liste, basimbuje abandi.
So when she got now to go to check the list of the transfer, she found out that her name was removed, and then they put somebody else on her place.
Ntabwo nicaye kuko ababyeyi banjye ntabwo bari gutuma ndeka kwiga, banjyanye kwiga muri sefoteke ni rimwe mu ishuri kimwe na apakope byakiraga abana bagize ibibazo nk'ibyo ngibyo b'abatutsi bahejwe bimwe imyanya mu mashuri kandi batsinze.
So of course her family didn't allow that to stop her from studying. They enrolled her into another school called Sefotec, which was a school that was recruiting Tutsis that had gone through this discrimination of not being allowed to study into good schools and that had good grade. So she studied in that school instead of the best school that she was actually awarded to.
Ibyo ni bimwe mu bikomere nagiye ngira ndetse nyine nanditse muri iki gitabo. Nahuye nabyo mbere ya jenoside, ariko hakaba igihe muri mu mwaka wa 1990 ubwo FPR inkotanyi yatangiraga urugamba rwo kubohora igihugu.
So these are few of the things that wounded her as a child of the discrimination of even stopping her from studying and being in a place where she wanted to be, and those discrimination went on and until in 1990 when the RPF, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, actually decided to come and I would say stop the discrimination and try to bring the rights to the Tutsi and allow the Tutsis to have their rights in Rwanda.
Icyo gihe papa wanjye yahise akurwa ku kazi yakoraga, afungwa mu bo bitaga ibyitso. Kuva icyo gihe nyine ntiyongera gukora.
Yes, okay. So when the RPF started like fighting the Rwandan the Hutu government, that was the extremist Hutu government that was in power at that time, against to stop the discrimination against the Tutsis. Her father was fired from his job, and he was actually even put in prison just because he was Tutsi, in a prison called Ubwisonichi mu Cyongereza, Mr. Francois.
Prison.
Kweki.
Prison bashiraga abatutsi yitwaga ngo ubwitsi. Ni hehe bashize papa wanyu?
Papa yabanje gufungirwa muri stade, aho babafungiraga nyine muri stade, nyuma baza kubajyana mu magereza atandukanye, ariko afunguwe ntiyongera gukora, bamwirukana mu kazi kugeza yishwe nyine muri 1990.
So her father was first arrested just because he was Tutsi. He was arrested and put in prison. Yasigaye muri gereza imyaka ingahe cyangwa iminsi ingahe cyangwa amezi angahe?
Yafunzwe mu gihe kigera ku mwaka, yafunguwe ntiyongera guhabwa akazi, nyine baramwirukana kugeza yishwe muri jenoside.
Oh my God. So her father was arrested and he was in prison for almost a year just because he was Tutsi. Then when he was released, he was not allowed to work again until he was killed in the genocide against the Tutsis in 1994.
Ibyo rero byaje ubwo navugaga kuri bimwe mu bikomere byanjye bya mbere ya jenoside. Noneho igikomere gikomeye cyane nakigize maze kumenya ko papa yishwe mu gihe cya jenoside.
So the thing that she just mentioned about her father being arrested and being in prison just because he was Tutsi and being fired from his job and the discrimination at her school, those were the wounds that she experienced before the genocide started, officially started. I would say, I won't say really started because it started even before 1994. But when the genocide that everybody talk about, the genocide in April that started on April 7th, before it started, those are the main wounds that she had to heal from. But also one of the biggest wounds that she experienced was when she found out that her father was killed.
papa wanjye twaherukanaga nari mvuye ku ishuri ndagenda ndamusura mu rugo iwabo hari Cyangugu donc amaze gufungurwa yagiye kuba iwabo ahari aho yavukaga aho bitaga muri komine Gisuma ubu ni mu karere ka Rusizi.
Okay, so she's mentioning when her father was released from prison, he went back to his hometown in Cyangugu in the province of Rusizi in the south. Like Cyangugu is literally the border. It's at the border of Congo and Rwanda. It's like right at the border of Congo and Rwanda. So he went to live there with his family, like where he was born. And she went the last time she was with him, she went after her school, she went to visit him and in Cyangugu, in that place. That was before he was killed.
Ubwo rero naje kujya no gusura umutante wanjye wakoraga mu yindi secteur, noneho igihe ndiyo jenoside nyine yatangiye nyirizina ari kumwe na tante uwo, hari ukuntu twari tumenyereye kujya gusura, urabona jenoside yabaye mu gihe cya Pasika, rero mu minsi mikuru twari dufite rwa rukundo nababwiraga rw'umuryango, twaragendaga tukavuga ngo uyu munsi mukuru uyu n'uyu tuzajya ku mufamiliye wacu. Icyo gihe rero twese abana ba famiye benshi twagiye gusura uwo mutante.
So she's saying that she went to visit her dad, but after visiting her dad, she went to visit her aunt because the genocide started during the Easter season. So during the Easter season in Rwanda, people were going to visit family relatives, just like now during Easter season, people go to the families, extended families, aunts and uncles and stuff. So she went to visit an aunt, and that's where the genocide found her. So she was not with her dad when the genocide started.
Aho twari turi rero twagize amahirwe umugabo witwa Loise araduhisha, hanyuma nza kumva inkuru hari undi mutante wacu wari umaze kurokokera aho nyine iwabo, ariko aza atubwira iby'urupfu rwa papa wanjye n'undi murumuna we ni oncle wanjye paternel. Nibwo rero numvise mu Kinyarwanda tuvuga ngo kumva ucitse inkingi z'umutima, kumva nyine igikomere ndengakamere cy'urupfu rwa papa n'uburyo.
Okay, so when the genocide started, she and her aunts and the people that she was with, they got to hide and hide for their lives. But then few days later, somebody came to announce to them that her dad was killed and her uncle and few other people in her family were killed. And that was the moment where her heart was broken. She's mentioning, I think it's like broken to pieces. Basically, like it's like a heartbreaking moment. Like it's like, yeah.
Ubwo tante yaraje nyine atubwira ukuntu abantu bishe papa, umwe mu bari bamuhishe niwe waje amubwira ukuntu papa yari umugabo muremure pe. Bamuciyemo rero gatatu, bamuvumbuye mu murima w'icyayi.
Okay, Jesus. Oh my God. Okay, reka nishobore ku. Yeah, this is a lot. Okay, so her father was a very tall man, and so the killers cut him in 3 pieces. They divided his body into 3, and they cut him in the so in Rwanda, in the area where her dad lived, it's an area where they farm tea, Rwandan tea. By the way, Rwandan tea is one of the best tea in the East Africa. To me, it's by far the best tea in East Africa, but it can be argued. But to me, it's the best tea. But so they had a tea field, and they actually killed him, and they cut him into 3 pieces.
Bamukuye mu murima w'icyayi, hanyuma bamugenza gutyo nyine, bamucamo gatatu, hanyuma bajugunyaho. Umudamu umwe niwe washoboye gufata kurenzaho agataka kugira ngo imbwa zitaza kumutwara.
So after they cut him to pieces, they left him there. But there's a woman who actually saw what happened, and she put some soil. She covered his body so that the dogs wouldn't come and take his pieces.
Umunsi rero namenye iyo nkuru, niho numvise mbabaye cyane, numva nta icyizere mu by'ukuri cyo kuzongera kubaho. Ndetse no mu isengesho twakoze nimugoroba, kuko twirirwaga twihishe, ariko nijoro tugataha mu nzu, uwo mutante bari bamucumbikiyemo n'ubundi, turi gusenga.
Sorry. So reka mbikemure so that batarabigisha. So when she heard about the traumatic and the atrocity of how her father was killed, she lost any will to live. Like she was devastated, she was heartbroken, and so her and her aunt and the people that were hiding, they will hide in a place in the morning, and then they will go back to the house at night, and they will pray at night. So but that night after she found out about what happened to her dad, she just didn't even want to pray anymore. She just had lost the will to live.
Turi gusenga rero nibwo icyo gihe nabwiye Imana, nzongera kubaho gute, nzongera kwiga gute ko papa apfuye. Ariko umutante wanjye umwe witwa Judith aheruka kwitaba Imana, arambwira ati humura, kuba turiho nitushobora kubaho ntabwo uzananirwa kwiga.
So during the prayer time, she was asking God, she's like, okay, Father, like God, how am I going to live? My dad is dead. My dad is killed. How am I going to go back to school? Like, what's gonna happen to me? And then the aunt, her aunt, who was there, she said, don't worry, if we survive this genocide, if we survive, you will be able to go back to school.
Bukeye rero haje kuza igitero aho ngaho twari twihishe, hazamo umugabo wari uturutse i Kigali, aravuga ngo abo bantu nari ngiye kwicwa. Donc yaturutse i Kigali aza i Rusizi, ageze aho bita Maraba, ahura na bariyeri bari bagiye kumwica kuko asa n'abatutsi.
So there was somebody that was coming from Kigali. Yari muri famille yanyu se cyangwa ni
oya yaje muri icyo gitero cyari kije kutwica.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. my bad. Wow, yavuye Kigali as icyango kubica. That's determination.
Yavuye Kigali ahunze kuko nawe bashakaga kumwica kuko asa n'abatutsi. Hanyuma ageze i Rusizi twari duhishwe n'umuntu wo muri famiye ye, nawe azaje mu gitero gishaka kutwica ngo kubera ko abo bantu bari bagiye gutuma apfa kuko asa nabo, nawe ashaka kubica.
Yes way. This is twisted. Okay, so this person comes from Kigali, he's Hutu, but the problem that he has is that he looks Tutsi, because remember, Tutsis had features. They had like different features. They were tall. They had different. They had like specific features that the killers were observing. So he looked Tutsi, but he was Hutu. So he was running from Kigali, and he found himself to Cyangugu, Rusizi. Now, the reason why I'm shocked, because it's far. It's very far from Kigali to Cyangugu. My goodness. And apparently before the genocide started, actually before the genocide and during the genocide, the roads were not as good as it is now. So I cannot imagine how far it took him from Kigali to Rusizi. And so on his way to Cyangugu, because his family, so Ms Cécile and her aunt, they were hiding into a Hutu family's house. They were hiding in somebody who was Hutu. That's why I'm saying not every Hutu killed. They are very behind every survivor, behind every survivor of the genocide. There is a Hutu person who did something to protect them. So that's why we cannot generalize and say that every Hutu, all Hutus are bad. No. So this man was running from Kigali because he looked Tutsi, but he was Hutu. So when he got close to to the province where she was, he was arrested. He was stopped because he looked Tutsi, but he was Hutu. So he became mad, and when he got to Rusizi, he decided to kill the Tutsis, because it's like, these people they are trying to kill me because I look like them, so I need to kill them. So he came to the place, the house where Ms Cécile and her aunt were hiding, to kill them.
Ubwo rero yaraje n'abandi bari kumwe, ariko uwo muntu wari uduhishe yitwa Royce, aramubwira ati genda uzane umugore wawe kuko ni umututsikazi, uzane na mama wawe nawe ni umututsikazi, ati nubicira imbere yanjye nanjye ndaguha aba bantu bice.
That's brave on another level. So the family that was hiding Ms Cécile and her aunt told the people that were with that man who wanted to kill them, he said, go and get your wife and your mother. So his wife, that man's wife, was Tutsi, and his mother, the one who birthed him, that's why he looked Tutsi, right? The person who birthed him was also Tutsi. So she's like, go and bring your wife and your mother. If you can kill them in front of me, I'm going to give you these people to kill. But you will not get these people to kill if you don't kill your mother and your wife.
Noneho abonye bidashoboka aravuga ngo nituzane ibyangombwa. Nta rangamuntu nari ifite ikarita y'ishuri. Navuze ko nigeze kwiga muri Sefoteke, ariko Genocide yabaye namaze kubona ishuri Nyamasheke, ndihawe n'abafrere b'aba Josephite. nabo hari higanjemo abatutsi. Uwo mufrere Ladislas wanarimpaye baramwishe muri jenoside. Noneho
Okay, sorry, I need to translate. So when the guy realized that it's going to be hard, then he asked her and her aunt to give them the identification cards. And because she did not have an identification card, but she had a student card, because she had studied in Sefotek, but she at that before the genocide, she was enrolled into another school in Nyamaseke, and she had that school. She had that card from the school.
Iyo kartera yanjye rero nari mfite ya Sefoteke yari yanditseho ko aho hantu najyaga ntaha ari Imbazi. Imbazi ni secteur imwe y'akarere ka Huye, icyo gihe yari komine Mbazi. Noneho
so now she had the Sefotek identity card, which was the previous school she was at, but on that card her address was not in Rusizi where she was, but it was in another district in Huye. Huye is like where Butare is, so it was like in another, like I would say a commune that is in the province of Huye.
Arambwira rero ngo ufite ibyaha bitatu. Ufite icyaha cya mbere cyo kuba uri umututsi, ufite icyaha cya kabiri cyo kuba wiga kandi nidushaka ko mwiga, noneho ukagira na sakirirego yuko ufitanye isano n'abanyembazi. Abanyembazi bishe Bucyana.
Bucyana ninde?
Bucyana yari umuntu washinze ishyaka ryitwaga Sederi Power. Sederi
niwe wundi bishe mbere ya jenoside batangira kwica abatutsi Kigali.
Ni Cyangugu. Kigali ni Cyangugu.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous. So after they take her ID, okay, the guy says she committed 3 sins. The first sin is the fact that she's Tutsi. That's a sin on its own. The second sin is that she's a student and she's studying when they are not supposed to study. So that's another sin. Imagine that as a citizen of your country, you are not even allowed to study because you are Tutsi. And the third sin was that she looked like the people that killed. Like there was a political party called CDR that was led by somebody who was killed. I think it was in February 1994, February or January. Between when was it?
Muri 92.
So this man was killed in 1992. So the head of that party, that political party CDR, was killed in 1992. And the guy said the third sin is the fact that she looks like the people that killed the head of the political party. Side note, when this person was killed in 1992, they started killing Tutsis and arresting Tutsis in Kigali and in Cyangugu just because the guy was killed. Mr. Francois, are you here? Can you hear us? No, he can't hear. Okay, it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. can you add a comment on that? Because I want people to understand that the genocide didn't actually start in 1994, because even in 1992, people were killed just because that person was killed when he was on his way to Butare. Wasn't even on his way to Cyangugu. He was on his way to Cyangugu, right? Igenusa, igebishe umuntu wa CDR. Yari arimo kugenda yaravuye I Kigali agiye I Cyangugu baramwica, right?
yaravuye ahubwo I Cyangugu ajya I Kigali.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, he was leaving Cyangugu on his way to Kigali, not from Kigali to Cyangugu. It was from Cyangugu, from the Rusizi province to Kigali, and on his way to Kigali, he was killed. And as soon as he was killed, they started killing Tutsi people in Kigali because they said that it was them. Imagine that they were the one who killed the guy who was on his way to Kigali. Imagine they are killing you and they are arresting you because somebody was killed on his way that you don't even know. Mr. or Mrs., can you add a comment on this?
Comment?
mwari muri mu Rwanda igihe bishe uwo muntu.
Yego.
Uravuga nge?
Or Mrs.
Yego. No, nari mu Butaliyani ariko amakuru yose narayakurikiraga. Uwo nguwo bishe yitwaga Bucyana Martin yari yarashinze ishyaka extremiste. Byaba extremiste byanga abatutsi cyane.
So this man was, his name was Bucyana Martin. He had started a party, a political party called CDR, and it was an extremist party that was actually like building, not actually building, because the genocide ideology was there since 1959, but it was now intensifying the genocide ideology, and he was the head of that political party. And in 1992, he was leaving his hometown in Cyangugu on his way to Kigali, and he was killed.
Ariko impamvu bamwishe hari undi wari warashinze ishyaka witwaga Gatabazi Felicien biciye I Kigali, noneho abantu b'Isave babitaga abakombozi bumvaga ko ari ishyaka rya Bucyana Martin ryishe umufondateri wabo, niyo mpamvu bishe Bucyana abantu b'Isave mbazi.
So there was another political party that was led by somebody called Bucyana Martin, who was based in Kigali. So when that person, the head of CDR, was killed on his way to Kigali, they said the party of CDR concluded that it was the people of Bucyana Martin that were in Isave. Isave is actually where my dad was killed. Isave is I would say it's a small town in the province of Huye. It's close to Butare, but it's not in Butare.
Near Butare, yeah.
Yeah, it's near Butare. It's like a small town near Butare. That's where actually my dad was killed. That's where we were. I won't say that's where I survived. No, that's where my dad was killed. So they thought that it was the people in Isave from the political party of Bucyana Martin that killed him. So they decided also to kill Martin, that's the head of that political party.
Ubwo rero yiciwe Imbazi na hari biro ya komine Mbazi, urumva yishwe n'abantu baturutse Isave bajya kumwicira aho yari yahungiye Imbazi, noneho jewe wa wundi akanziza ko ngo mfitanye isano n'abantu baho yaguye ntanamuzi.
So remember, they told Ms Cécile that she had 3 sins. The first sin was the fact that she was Tutsi. The second sin was the fact that she was in school and she's not supposed to be in school because she's Tutsi. The third sin was on her ID, her student ID. It said that she was coming from Bazi, and Bazi was the place where that person, the head of CDR, was killed by the so-called people from Martin's political party in Isave. So they came from Isave to Bazi to kill this person. So they blamed Cécile that she was the reason why this guy was killed, and she didn't even know the guy. She didn't even know that. Oh my God.
Umunsi kundi rero twagiye twumva uyu munsi tukumva ngo bishe aba n'aba, tukumva nyine abantu bo mu muryango wacu benshi bishe, bisigara wumva ari nka kwa kundi umuntu yatewe ikinya nyine
So
ukaguma muri
every
icyo
day,
kintu
when they were in that house, the place where they hid from during the genocide, they will have news that they killed family members. So it was, even though they were hiding and they were safe, but it was breaking her and hurting her more and more, because hearing that your loved ones are dead, even if you are alive, it's you can't really rejoice of being alive when you know that your family were killed.
umunsi umwe rero haba ubwicanyi bukabije cyane aho hantu twari turi. Uwo muntu waduhishe mu by'ukuri araduhisha bikomeye. Mu ijoro hagati afata abana b'abahungu arabambutsa abajyana muri Zaire, DRC y'ubu ngubu.
So there was a day where the killing was too much. It became like very, very, very. It increased compared to the previous time. So the family, the head of the family, who was hiding them, all of them in his house. They were not the only people. There were also other Tutsis that were hiding in that house. So he decided that night to take some of the boys and the men that were hiding in his house to go to DRC. Like I said, Changugu, the Rusizi province, is literally at the border of Congo Republic, of DRC and Rwanda. It's literally like you can cross and you're in another country.
Hanyuma dusigara mu by'ukuri navuga ko ni Imana yaturokoye. Tuza kugira isengesho, nagize amahirwe yo kuvukira mu muryango usenga. Abo batante ubwo bari babiri, hari uwo twari twagiye gusura, ni na wa wundi waje adusanga. Noneho tuza kugira.
So she said that she's grateful because she was born in a family that prays. So remember, she had gone to visit one of her aunts, and they were hiding together in that house. But there was also another aunt who came to hide with them. So there was a night when they were having these prayer nights together.
Twakoze isengesho rero ku isaha ya 9:00. Abakristo gatolika tuyita isaha y'impuhwe z'Imana. Tante
9:00 ni sangahe mu Cyongereza? 9:00
c'est bon, 3h de l'après-midi, 15h.
Okay.
Oui.
So they were having a special prayer at 3 p.m. Which is the prayer of mercy. So she was raised in a Catholic family. So there was a prayer that they were doing, which is a prayer of the mercy of God that they were praying at 3 p.m.
Wa mutante navuze uheruka kwitaba Imana aratubwira ati nimureke dusenge, ni turamuka dupfuye dusaba Imana itubabarira ibyo twaba twarakoze, ni turamuka tubayeho tubwire Imana icyo twazayikorera mu gihe kizaza.
So one of the aunts who recently passed away, she told her and her other aunt, she said, let's pray that we are going to pray a prayer. If God save us from these atrocities, these killings, we will serve Him. And what we will do if we are saved. If we are not saved, let's give our life, let's hand our life to God. If we are not saved, so we can go to heaven. So basically, it was like a prayer of it's like a last moment prayer. God, I give you my life. If it's happening, if it's time for me to be killed, I give you my life. If it's not time for me to be killed, I promise to serve you or to do something. So it was like a promise, a vow that they were going to give to God.
Kuri iyo saha rero niho nanjye nakoreye Imana umuhigo, ndayibwira nti niba turokotse ubu bwicanyi, nta ngusezeranije ko ntazirengagiza umuntu ubabaye. Aho niho nahereye fondasiyo yanjye mu gitekerezo.
Wow. So at that point when they decided to pray, she made a vow to God. She said, God, if I survive the genocide, if I am not dead, if I'm not killed in this genocide, I make a vow to you that I'm not going to be indifferent of people's pain. And that was at the place where her foundation, the foundation Health for Community community development, that's where it was birthed.
Ubwo rero twaragiye tuza kuva aho urabona Cyangugu, Kibuye na Gikongoro byari zone turquoise.
So she's saying, so after that prayer, it was like a breakthrough prayer, because so she's mentioning that remember, if you watch the previous interviews, we're talking about the turquoise zone. Was the turquoise I would say a project or plan or assignment. It was the French. So the French government was actually the ally of the Rwandan government at that time, the extremist Rwandan government at that time. So when they started realizing that the RPF was winning, so they asked the French to send a special army to come and fight the RPF. So the turquoise zone was located in Cyangugu, Huye, and Gikongoro. So it was literally the south. It was like Cyangugu, Huye, Gikongoro. So it was that area. By the way, I actually think one of the people that seem, I don't have the proof, but I believe that it might be actually an army, like a soldier from the turquoise who saved me, because I remember of somebody in uniform, but I don't know if it was, I don't have a clear memory of it. But during my therapy, I remember like there was like a person in uniform that saved me. So maybe it's a French person, I have no idea, or maybe it's an angel, I have no idea. So the turquoise army was located in Gikongoro, Huye, and Cyangugu. So they were surrounding.
No. Aline, ni Kibuye ntabwo ari Huye. Kibuye.
Oh, so it's not there. My bad. It's not Huye. My bad, guys. Like I said, I'm not a history. I was 5, so I did not know where I was even. I didn't even know I was in Isabe. So it was Kibuye, Gikongoro, and
Cyangugu.
It was not Huye.
Wow.
So I'm from the province where I survived. It was Huye, not Kibuye. So it was Kibuye, Gikongoro, and
Cyangugu. Yes.
Icyo gihe rero ubwo FPR Inkotanyi yafataga igihugu, twebwe twamaze igihe kinini tukiri muri iyo zone turquoise, hanyuma na wa wundi wari uduhishe aza guhunga ajya muri Congo.
So during the time when the RPF was gaining taking over, like stopping the genocide, because they came from Uganda and they were stopping the genocide in the country, but they were still in the turquoise zone because they were in Cyangugu, in Rusizi province. So at that time, her and her family, they were still with that family, that Hutu family. But there was a time, even he crossed the border and he ran to DRC, to Congo DRC.
Natwe rero twaje kujya aho bita Inyarushishi. Inyarushishi hari inkambi yajyagamo nyine abatutsi bashoboye kurokoka. Icyo gihe abafaransa nibo bafashaga abantu kwambuka, barakubazaga Hutu bakakujyana muri Congo, Tutsi bakakubwira ko ugenda mu Inyarushishi.
Yes, wait. I am confused. No. asking that question?
wari ubizi se barebaga na identite ntiwari ubizi
cyane barakubazaga
cyane
barakutubazaga aho basanga uri umuhutu bakakuyobora bakanaguherekeza kuri frontiere ukambuka muri Congo
Yes,
hanyuma
oh my
tutsi
gosh.
ukajya
Okay,
Nyarushishi.
I'm just, Mr. Francois, I don't know if his connection is, because I'm sure he has it. I don't know. Mr. Francois, can you hear us? Oh, God. It's okay. I am shocked. Okay. This amazes me because I didn't know this. I did not know this. So apparently, in the turquoise zone, okay, the French camp, okay. So the people that were running to those refugee camps that were there, when you get there, they ask you, are you Tutsi or are you Hutu? If you say you are Hutu, they walk you to the border of the DRC and they help you cross the border and run and leave the country, okay? But if you say you are Tutsi, they put you in another refugee camp, which is Rusizi, Nyarushishi, right?
Nyarushishi.
ari
Nyarushishi.
Cyangugu.
Yes, it's in Cyangugu. So basically, they keep the Tutsis in Cyangugu in Rwanda, right? And then they help the Hutus to escape Rwanda. I want to repeat it because this is crazy. The French army. I'm talking about the French army, the army from France. The army from France, okay? The army from France, not the army from France, were asking the people, are you Hutu or are you Tutsi? If you say you are Hutu, they walk you to Congo to help you escape Rwanda. And if you say you are Tutsi, they put you in a refugee camp in Rusizi, in Cyangugu, still on Rwanda soil. Meaning they were helping Hutus to escape.
Okay.
Oya, umva na mbere avant 1990 ils étaient sur les barrières, ils regardaient dans les cartes d'identité sur Rwanda. Peut-être c'est pour cela qu'ils parlent de responsabilités lourdes et accablantes, vous avez entendu, peut-être. Mais depuis 1990, ils étaient au Rwanda, ils regardaient dans les identités, ils séparaient les gens.
So the French army was in Rwanda since October 1990 when October 1st 1990 when the RPF started actually trying to fight for the right of the Tutsis. The Rwandan government at that time asked for the French help to send the French army to come and fight the RPF. And Mr. is mentioning that even in 1990, at that time, there were barricades of French people asking for people's ID and asking you, are you Hutu? So that's why if you follow the news of Rwanda, the president of France went to Rwanda to apologize, to publicly apologize of the implication in the genocide. But it was not just the genocide, it was even before because they were on soil in 1990.
Yeah.
I have a question. So this is it's true. It's okay. Ariko se bazabagiraho iki kubera they are responsible of literally they are responsible of not only abantu bagiye kwihisha muri nusa zone turquoise abatutsi bagiye kwihisha babatanga and they gave away them to the killers. No, see abo bantu babikoze bazabagiraho iki. For me, I forgiveness is important. Ariko the consequences of your action are also needed. Bazabagiraho iki.
Non, ça c'est question mark. Mais ikibazo.
I'm sorry, I'm asking a question because I'm like, yes, the president of France went to Rwanda to publicly recognize of the implication of the French implication of the genocide against the Tutsis. It's okay to ask for forgiveness, but what will be the consequences of the actions? Because as we speak, there are many genocide perpetrators that are living in France and they are not trial for the thing because they are French and the French government is covering them. So my question is, what are we gonna do with it? Because if you guys were there since 1990, you need to pay for what you did. Sorry, I'm just amazed. I'm shocked. So noneho babashira muri nuza babashira muri nuza muri refugee camp ya Rushishi.
yego
Yego, Cyangugu abandi bakabambutsa bakajya i Kongo.
aho i Nyarushishi aho i Nyarushishi nyine abatutsi bari bavuye muri ya zone turquoise entre autres Cyangugu n'abavuye ku Kibuye cyane cyane hariya mu Bisesero hariya bishe abatutsi cyane noneho abarokotse nabo Abafaransa nibo babazanagaho i Nyarushishi n'abandi bakeya baturutse ku Gikongoro ndetse n'igice kimwe cya Butare aho ahazamaraba nabo hari abadusanze i Nyarushishi.
So the Nyarushishi refugee camp was the place where the Tutsi, the genocide survived, the Tutsis that had survived the genocide in the Kibuye province, in Bisesero. So Bisesero was one of the places where they killed more Tutsis. Like the killing in Bisesero. My God! I went there. During in 2016, I was doing my internship at the Geology Command Department in Rwanda, and I mapped the whole Rwanda, and I went in Bisesero, and I kid you not, the killings that happened there, it's on another level. So the people that survived in that area, they were also brought in that refugee camp, and the people in Kibuye, the Tutsis in Kibuye that survived were also brought in Rushishi's refugee camp by the French, and then also as a little part of Butare, because Huye, I would say the little part of the province of Huye, where some of the Tutsi had survived, they were also brought in that place. So meaning that refugee camp was a Tutsi refugee camp, because again, the Hutus were taken outside of Rwanda, and the Tutsis were put in a refugee camp in Cyangugu.
Icyo gihe rero nyine twabayeho mu buzima bugoye bwo mu nkambi, cyane cyane ko rimwe na rimwe n'ibiryo byabaga bigenewe abo b'i Nyarushishi, hari igihe bahitaga babyohereza ngo bikomeze muri Kongo bijye gufasha aba bandi bohereje.
Jesus, okay. I'm sorry, guys. This is ridiculous. So the French people, remember, they were sending the Hutu in Congo, and then the Tutsis were staying in Nyarushishi refugee camp. So they got to a place, because in the refugee camp you don't eat what you want, you eat what is there. So there was a time the food was even a scarcity. They didn't have enough food, because they were taking the food that the first aid was sending to the refugees, and they were sending it directly in Congo to feed the Hutus that were sent to Congo.
Twakomeje kubaho mu buzima nyine bugoye bwo mu nkambi n'indwara, ariko nyuma haza kuza imiryango yindi ya CICR, HCR n'iyindi bagerageza kudufasha, ariko mu kwezi kwa munani hari ku itariki 12 inkotanyi zirahagera, RPF inkotanyi baraza.
Thank you, Jesus. So they lived a horrific moment, but in between, because when they got to Nyarushishi, they were held by the turquoise zone, the turquoise army, the French army, that were actually not giving them food. They were not giving them enough food for in the refugee. They were sending the food in Congo to feed the Hutus that were there. So, but in between, the HCR, the United Nations Department of Refugees actually came to help that refugee camp. But on August 12, 1994, the RPF finally got in Kiangugu and they took over. So they saved them from the torture.
Ubwo rero ubuzima noneho baraduhumuriza, baravuga bati igihugu ngubu nubwo hakirimo ibibazo bitarajya ku murongo ariko muhumure.
So when the RPF army came to the refugee camp, they comforted them and they told them, don't worry. Even though the country is not great, but you are safe now. You are not going to die. So they comforted them.
Mu gihe twari aho ngaho rero CICR yigeze gukora ibarura ry'abanyeshuri bigaga.
So while they were in the refugee camp, the organization that was taking care of the refugee did a census of the children that were studying, that were students before.
Icyo gihe rero twari ku murongo nyine turi kubarurwa, niho nabonye akana gatoya kataruzuza umwaka kariraga cyane, hari iruhande rw'ihema ryo kwa muganga aho bafashirizaga utwana twagize bwaki, malnutrition.
Oh, okay. So while the children were lining up to be checked up because they were malnourished, she saw a little child who was like around 1 year old, who was really malnourished and was lining up to be checked up by the organization, by the healthcare, I would say the doctors.
Naragiye kubera ko nabonaga kari kurira cyane, ndagaterura ndagahoza, hanyuma umuzungukazi wabonye ko ndi kukitaho ahita mpamagara ansaba ko najya mbafasha gukinisha abo bana.
So when she saw that little child that was crying, she decided to go and hold the child and comfort the child. And then one white person in the organization saw that she was helping the child to feel like safe and like stopping the child from crying. So the white woman, the white person, I reached out to her and said that she's going to help them actually take care of the kids and play with the kids.
Naho nahereye rero kuko yahise ansaba ko najya kubana n'abo bana mu kigo, hari amahema y'ikigo nyine cyajyanwagamo abana b'imfubyi.
So there was a place, I would say like an area or department, I would say there was a place where they put the children. So they separated the children from the adults, and that person took her and told her that she's going to go and help them take care of the kids and play with them and be there with the kids. So she was taken out of the refugee camp to go to that place with the kids. Oh, connection yanyu yagiye. Hello? Connection yagiye.
bari bampamagaye
abo bantu babahamagara muri live ngo babwire
ntazi ko turi ntabwo babizi.
Okay, mushobora gukurikira. You can continue.
abo bana nakomeje kubana nabo kugeza inkambi irangiye, twimukira aho hari ahantu hari ishuri rya segonderi hafi y'ikibuga cy'indege cya Kamembe.
So she stayed with the children until the program was over, and they were actually relocated to another place that was close to the airport.
ubwo naho hari ibibazo bikomeye nyine by'ubuzima butari bwiza, ariko kubera ko hari hazwi nyine nk'aho bajyanye abana b'abatutsi barokotse jenoside, twaje guterwa abari abasirikare b'ingoma yo kwa Habyarimana bari hakurya muri Kongo, ariko barambuka ijoro rimwe baza kudutera, batera amagrenade, bica abana. Icyo gihe bakomeretsa abana benshi, usohotse harimo umwana umwe wasohotse bahita bamurasa.
Yes, way. So remember, the French people took out the Hutus in Congo, and the Tutsis were staying in Rushishi's province. But when they moved, when her and the children were moved to another location close to the airport, one day the extremist Hutus that had actually run out of Rwanda that were in Congo, they crossed the border, and they threw grenades, and they killed many children. And this one child who left the refugee camp, when the child went out, he was shot.
Icyo gihe nabyo byatubereye ibihe bikomeye. Hanyuma ubwo ndaganisha kuri cya gitekerezo cyo gukomeza gufasha abababaye, nubwo nari ndi kumwe n'abo bana, ariko sinibukaga ko ari wa muhigo nahize cya gihe.
So even though she went to more traumatic thing, because of course, like, you know, watching those children being killed by these by the genocide perpetrator, she continued to help the children, but also she kept on remembering the vow that she had made to God, that if she survived, she's going to help people that need help. So this was the beginning of her service to the community.
Ubwo twakundaga kujya gusengera ku eglise yari iri hafi aho. Nyuma nza kumenya ko donc papa nari mbizi ko yishwe, ariko mama ya jenoside yabaye ari ahari iwabo nyine handi navuze imbazi, ntabwo nari nzi ko we yarokotse. Umunsi umwe rero nibwo naje kubimenya ko barishwa bo mu muryango we, bavukaga ari 5, ubu yasigaye ari wenyine, ariko nza kumenya icyo gihe nyine ko ariho.
So after a long time, so like she said, she had studied in Bahitahe, Bazi. in
Imbazi,
Bazi.
imbazi.
So she had studied in Bazi, but during the genocide happened when she was visiting her father in Cyangugu, and then she went to her aunt, and that's where she survived. So she thought that her mother did not survive the genocide, but later on she found out that her mother had survived the genocide, but all her siblings were killed. There were 5 siblings. They were all killed, but she had survived the genocide. So she found out that she was not alone, that her mother had survived.
ubwo rero maze kumenya ko hariho nagize imitima ibiri nkibaza ese mama ararokotse, nanjye akeneye kumbona, akeneye ko tuba turi kumwe, ariko urundi ruhande nkareba b'abana bababaye badafite umuntu wo kubitaho, twahujwe n'amateka akakaye, noneho rimwe ndi gusenga, hari ahantu mu Banyakorinto 13 bavuga iby'urukundo nyarwo, uko rwihanganira byose, rutirebaho, rutagira gute. Numva iryo jambo ry'Imana rirampatira kugumana n'ababana.
So even after she found out that her mother was alive, she was happy, but she was torn in between 2 choices, because she knew that her mother, though the mother was alive, her mother would want her to be with her and build with her, but she was also attached to the children that she had survived the genocide with, and those children were all by themselves. They didn't have any other family. So even though she knew that her mother was alive, and she knew that she could go to her mother and try to reconstruct her life, but she just could not leave the children, because she knew that the children didn't have anybody else but her. So because she was a prayerful woman, she remembered the scripture of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, where the Bible says that love is kind, love does not seek its own means, and she felt in her heart that though her mother was alive, she needed to stay with the children. She needed to stay and take care of those children. So she did not go to her mother. She decided to stay with the children and take care of them.
Yego, nageze aho cyakora njya kumusura, ndamutekerereza uko bimeze, nawe ambwira uko byamugendekeye mu gihe cya Genocide. Hanyuma nawe arambohora, arambwira ati abo bana nibo bagukeneye kuruta uko jyewe ngukeneye.
So later on, she decided to go visit her mother and explain to her that she wants to be with like her decision by being able to stay with the kids. And her mother said, yes, actually these children need you more, even though I would love to have you, but those children need you more than I do. So she understood the choice of Ms Cécile, and she encouraged her to stay with the children.
Igihe yasezeragaho yarampobeye, ampa agatabo ka musaza we yari afite mu gihe yicwaga. Ako gatabo yitwa, handitseho mu Gifaransa L'imitation de Jésus-Christ.
So before she said goodbye to Ms Cécile, before her mother said goodbye to her, she handed her a book that her brother, so Ms Cécile's uncle, who was killed, had on him when he was killed. And the title of that book is the Limits of Jesus Christ.
Arakampa, arambwira ati nkaguhayeho impano ikomeye, uzagerageze kwigana Yesu Kristo mu byo ugiye gukora byose.
So she gave her the book, and she told her, I am giving you this book because I am praying that you will learn from Jesus Christ, and the thing that you are about to do, that you will learn and imitate Christ as you do it.
yego narakomeje mbana n'aba bana tuza no kwimuka tuva hahandi hafi ya aeroport tujya mu kigo cyari novisiya y'abapadiri b'abajesuite.
So she went back to the children where the children were close to the airport, and they lived there. But then after a moment, they were relocated to I would say it's like a Jesuit. I don't know how to say it in English. It's like a group
Une
of
communauté, une communauté
yes,
de
it's
jésuites.
a group of priests that is called Jesuit in French, which I don't know how to say it in English. But it's a community
Yeah.
of priests.
Religious.
Of religious, yeah, religious priests.
Yes.
Naragiye mbana nabo, harimo abapadiri b'abajesuite baradufashije cyane muri icyo gihe, bari kumwe n'ababikira b'abapenitente.
So in that place, they were held by priests and nuns that were living there. So they had better health and better supports.
Igihe kigeze rero amashuri afunguye amashuri yongeye kwiga, twese twagombaga kujya kwiga.
So when they opened the schools, everybody was called to go study, and she also was called to go back to school.
Nari ngiye kureka kujya kwiga n'ubundi numva ntekereza kugumana n'abana, ariko umupadiri umwe arambwira ati ugomba kujya kwiga, nawe uracyari mutoya, nawe uracyakeneye kurerwa, reka tubitegure ugende ujye kwiga.
So she wanted to, she did, even though the school had started and they wanted all of them to go to school, she didn't want to go because she didn't want to leave the kids. But one of the priests said, you need to go because you are still young and you need education. So we are going to plan for you to go back to school.
Icyifuzo cyanjye rero cyo kwiga, nahise mubwira ko nifuza kwiga muri rya shuri bambujije kwiga kandi naritsindiye kurijyamo.
So she told the priest, she's like, so my wish is to go to study to the school that they did not allow me. They remember when she finished high school, she was awarded to go to the top school in Butare, but then they removed her name. So she told the priest that she wants to go to that school. If she has to study, she's going to study into that school. That is good.
Niko byagenze, yasabiye Padiri Karekezi, yasabiye ishuri nyine hahandi muri groupe scolaire officielle, nigamo sciences infirmières.
So that priest went on and requested for her to study in that school, and she studied the nursing science.
Nursing.
Yes, nursing science, yeah.
Naragiye ndiga, ndumva mfite umwete, kuko igihe naherukanaga na papa amperekeje ngiye kujya gusura wa mutante.
So she went to school with a determination because she remembered her last moment that she had with her dad when she went to visit him before the genocide happened, when he took her to her aunt.
Papa yari yarambwiye ati uzige amashuri ntashoboye kwiga kandi uzaba umugabo uzafashe barumuna bawe.
So she remembered the conversation she had with her dad, who told her, go and study the schools and get the knowledge that I did not get the chance to have, and become a responsible person to help your family?
ibyo byamfashije kwiga ndatsinda ariko
That pushed her to study and succeed.
hagati ndi kwiga turi kurangiza twakoze ibizamini bya pratique bisoza umwaka wa gatandatu.
So it pushed her to study until she finished, and there was a final exams on her last year, her senior year in that college.
Natomboye twagiraga tirage au sol tugatombora nyine ikibazo uza gukoraho.
So there was a raffle, like there was a raffling. They were raffling the question, so you will go and then they will raffle and they will choose a question to ask you.
Njye natomboye rero umuntu wari uhungutse uri mu bantu bishe umuryango wa mama.
So the person who was supposed to ask her the question, because remember it's a raffle, like you don't know who's going to ask you the question, but the person that she chose was one of the people that killed her family on her mother's side. So that person was in the family of the people that killed her mother, the mother side of the family.
Ubwo nyine nagombaga ikibazo natomboye niwe nagombaga gukoraho nkamukorera suwe zose kuva ku mutwe kugera ku maguru.
Yo bigi kigeragezo imani kuri yo, my God. So I'm sorry guys, I need to picture this. So God has a way of literally like trying you. I'm like, oh my, this is the biggest test ever. So because she was a nurse, she was studying nursing, so they were raffling ticket, and when you choose the person, you have to do the treatment from the head to toe, okay? And that person that was chosen for her final examination was one of the people that killed her family on her mother's side, so her mother's siblings, okay? And she had to do the treatment on that person.
Naragiye negera superviseur wanjye ndamubwira nti musaba ko bishobotse yampindurira.
Nukuri uwo musaraba wanyu wari urakomeye. So she went to, I'm telling her that her cross was very heavy, because that's a cross that is very heavy. So she went to her supervisor and asked if she can actually have another try and raffle and take another name, because of the fact that that person had killed her uncles and aunties.
Yarampakaniye arambwira ngo ntibishoboka, arambwira ati none se uriya murwayi agusanze uri mu ivuriro uri ku izamu wafunga ivuriro ukagenda.
So the supervisor said it's not possible, and he asked her a question. He said, if you are at the clinic and this person comes and needs help and need to be attended for, are you going to stop and not give him the care that he needs because of what he's done?
Yarampakaniye nyine hirya yanjye hari mugenzi wanjye wari umaze gutsindwa burundu, kuko yari yatomboye ikibazo ari nk'umutego nyine w'ikizami kijyanye n'umuntu wari wamaze kwitaba Imana. Hanyuma aho kugira ngo abanza ajye kumureba nyine mbere yo guprepara suwe agiye gukora, asanga nyine ni umuntu woroshe wapfuye.
Yes way. Okay, so one person behind her had failed his or her examination, because the patient that was given to her or him, before she went to attend to the patient was found dead. He was already dead, so he couldn't actually attend to the full clinical or whatever clinical test before the person passed away.
ubwo rero yarambwiye ati urashaka gutsindwa nka mugenzi wawe se.
So the supervisor asked Ms Cécile, said, do you want to fail like your friend who just failed right here? Because by the time they got to attend the patient died. So they failed automatically. So the supervisor asked her, do you want to fail also? If this patient died, you are going to fail.
ubwo rero namusabye kumpa iminota 5 ndagenda ndiherera muri toilette ndarira, ariko nsaba n'Imana imbaraga, ndabwira Imana nti wowe wo kumfasha.
So she asked the supervisor to give her 5 minutes. She went to the bathroom and she cried out to God, because this is a very this is a trying situation. Can you imagine giving the care to the person who killed your family? It's not easy. So she went to the bathroom. She cried out to God, and she asked God for the strength to go and attend to that person, so that person doesn't die.
Naragiye negera umurwayi, mu by'ukuri nawe yari afite ubwoba.
So she went and she got close to the patient, but the patient was also scared, because she knew that she killed her family.
Hanyuma ndamubwira nti ngiye kugufasha, ndi mu kizamini gisoza amashuri yanjye, ariko unyihanganire, yari afite ibisebe ku maguru byinshi, ninza kukoza igisebe ukababara, cyangwa ninza kugutera urushinge mfata umutsi ukababara, unyihanganire ntumve ko ari ibyo tuziranyeho bitumye nkubabaza.
So before she attended to the patient, she told him, she said, I want you to know that I'm here because of my final examination as a nurse, and I'm going to help and attend to you, because he had a lot of wounds on his legs. And she said, if I clean your wounds and it's painful, don't think that I'm doing it because of what you did to my family, because of the situation that we both know, but I'm doing my job as a nurse. And if I'm going to give you if I'm going to give you an injection and it hurts you, don't think that I'm doing it out of to hurt you, but I'm doing this because I'm going to help you and provide the care that you need.
Yarambwiye nawe ati dusenge, tuvuga isengesho rya Dawe uri mu ijuru.
So that person also said, let's pray, and then they prayed the prayer of our Father.
Tumaze gusenga yamfashe yampaye ikiganza cye, afata icyanjye arankomeza, numva ni nk'imbaraga zikomeye ampaye.
So as they were praying, he held her hand very tightly, and she felt like it was the strength that she needed to do her job, her assignment as a nurse.
Nyine nahise mubwira ko ntituraziranye njye nawe, nyine yari abizi ko muzi kandi ko nzi ibyo yakoze, ariko muri iryo sengesho no kumfata mu kiganza numvise ari nka energie transformatrice amaye, ndakomeza.
So even though she knew what he had done by killing her family members, like when he held her hand very tight, it was a transformative energy that she needed to be able to do her assignments as a nurse.
Namukoreye Yesu zose, ubwo wa musuperviseri ari hariya ari kuncunga cyane wenda kugira ngo ntagira n'ikosa nkora, ariko ku bw'amahirwe kubw'uko nabanje gusenga ndabikora rwose birarangira, hanyuma wa murwayi aranshimira.
So she did all the care that she needed to do on the patients, and she was also supervised by her supervisor who was watching her to make sure that she does everything right. But she did it all. She finished attending to the patient, and at the end of of taking care of the patient himself thanked her for attending to him.
Mu gihe yashimiraga nibutse ko nasabye Imana kwita ku muntu ubabaye. Muri ako kanya rero nabonye ko ari we Imana yari impaye nyine kungerageza nk'ikizami, ariko ari ukugira ngo inyibutse isezerano nayigiye.
So when she finished attending to that person who killed her family on her mother's side, she was reminded of the vow that she made. Remember when she prayed with her two aunts, and she made a vow to help people that cannot help themselves. Like she was reminded of that vow, and she felt like God was testing her to remind her of the vow that she made before she survived the genocide.
Ubwo ikizamini naragitsinze, mbona diplome, nza gusubira i Cyangugu nkora ku bitaro by'Igihundwe.
So she passed her exam, she succeeded well, she got her nursing certificate, and then she went back to Cyangugu where she survived to work at the hospital that was there.
Ariko hari akantu nibagiwe gato mbere yuko njya gusubira kwiga.
She forgot a little thing, so she wants to mention. So before she went back to school,
hari umwana wampaye agakarita mu gihe bari bakoze fete yo kunsezeraho, ako gakarite kari kanditseho.
So there was a card that was given to her. There was a card that was given to her by somebody before she went to school.
Kari kanditseho ngo tu as un cœur et il y a quelqu'un qui a besoin de toi.
And that card was saying you have a heart and there's somebody who needs you.
Ako nako kiyongereye kuri bya bindi papa yari yarambwiye ko nziga cyane ngafasha barumuna banjye, na rya sezerano ryanjye ryo gufasha abababaye, noneho numva ko wa mwana nawe ari kunyibutsa ko quelque part ahariho hose hari umuntu ubabaye ngomba gufasha.
So she remembered, so she felt like that card was reminding her of the request that her dad asked her to study hard and succeed and help the family, and also with the promise that she made to God to be able to help the needy. So it was a confirmation, it was another confirmation and another push for her to be able to help others.
Naje kuza gukora ku bitaro by'i Butare rero, aho twakoranye na Ms nkora muri ICU.
So she got to work in the hospital in Butare where she worked with Mr. or Ms. Das in the ICU in the intensive care units.
Nkaza kubona nyine ukuntu abantu bapfa, ukuntu bababaye.
And that's when she started seeing people dying and people who were sad. That's when she started.
Nsanzwe ndi charismatique, nza kubona rero twari muri chapelle yo mu bitaro, haza kuza umwana urwaye mu mutwe ufite ibisebe byinshi, yari epileptique.
So, she is a charismatic person. So one day she was in the clinic chapel, and she was praying, and she saw a child that came who had wounds in his head, on his head.
ndamuvuza ibisebe bimaze gukira mujyana muri centre psychiatrique ya Karayesi Butare.
After she attended to the child, and then she attended to his needs, and then when the child was healed, she took the child to a psychiatric center in Butare.
Mu gihe rero twari mu byo bita gusenderezwa effusion du Saint Esprit,
when they were doing charismatic prayers of the infusion of the Holy Spirit,
badusaba kuvuga umurima twifuza gusaruramo.
they asked the people that were doing the prayers, they asked them to share the mission in which they want to fulfill their purpose. What is the mission that God has called them to fulfill their purpose in?
Icyo gihe nari naratangiye kwiga clinical psychology.
At that time, she had started to study clinical psychology.
Nasabye Imana gusarura mu murima w'abarwayi bo mu mutwe.
During that prayer, she asked God to minister in helping people that have mental health.
Icyo gihe rero nibwo natangiye kuvuza undi murwayi, hanyuma mbona ko bihenze cyane, nsaba umukozi wa mutuelle de santé gufasha abantu bameze nkawe.
So she started helping one patient in the therapy process, but it was very costly. So she asked the healthcare mutual is the Rwandan healthcare in Rwanda, so to help that patient get the therapy that the patient needs.
Hanyuma ambwira kwandika, ndasaba hari organisation yitwa Global Fund yemerera kubishyurira iyo mutuelle de santé.
So she wrote to an organization called Global Fund, who actually sponsored the help to help them the healthcare that they needed to pursue the therapy that the patient needed.
Bamaze kubemerera nibwo natanze amatangazo mu ma eglise atandukanye, noneho babandi baza ari benshi, nibwo twatangiye rero organisation.
So after she sent the letter to the Global Funds for the help, she decided to bring awareness in churches for people that need mental health, that need mental health therapy. And then many people came, and that's how the foundation started.
Twarakomeje, noneho tubakorera amatsinda.
Amatsinda niki?
Ni nka club.
Okay.
Club.
So when people came in the foundation, they decided to subdivide them into clubs.
Muri ayo maclub rero niho tubakorera ibiganiro bijyanye na psychoeducation, kubigisha iby'ubuzima bwo mu mutwe.
So in those clubs, they decided to have conversation to bring awareness of mental health in those people and teach them of the importance of mental health.
Ariko tukabigisha n'ibindi bijyanye na gahunda za leta, kurwanya imirire mibi, de malnutrition, ku santé reproductive, hanyuma bagakora n'imirimo ibabyarira inyungu.
In those conversations, they also talked about the program, the government program that were helping also people heal in the progress, because that was done after the genocide. Her foundation was actually started in 2010. So foundation mwabitangiye ibyo bintu mwabitangiye ryari?
Twabitangiye muri 2010 byitwa Healthcare Foundation.
Okay, so those the foundation started in 2010. So in those clubs, they were teaching people and sensibilize, like bringing an awareness to people about the importance of mental health, but also telling them about governmental programs to help them process their wounds and their trauma, and to be able to start the process of healing.
Aho ngaho rero niho tumenya n'ibibazo bagenda bafite bitandukanye, bikadufasha kubakorera ubuvugizi.
So during those club and those conversation and discussion, it helped them to actually identify the problem and the needs that those people had, so that they can treat them accordingly.
Gusa imbogamizi duhura nazo zikomeye nuko ubuzima bwo mu mutwe ntabwo abantu barabwumva ko bukenewe kwitabwaho.
One of the big obstacles that the foundation has and still has faced is the fact that many people don't understand the importance of mental health and how important it is to have and take care of your mental health. Like, people still don't understand the importance of therapy.
Hari ubushakashatsi buheruka gukorwa na Minisiteri y'Ubuzima mu mwaka wa 2018.
So there is a researcher that was working alongside the Ministry of Health in Rwanda in 2009.
Bwagaragaje ko abanyarwanda benshi bafite ibibazo byo mu mutwe.
They found out that many Rwandan people have mental health problems.
Ariko hakaba umwihariko ku banyarwanda barokotse Genocide yakorewe Abatutsi.
And they actually realized that most of those people are genocide survivors.
Bikaba n'umwihariko ukomeye ku babyeyi, abakobwa n'abagore bafashwe ku ngufu mu gihe cya Genocide.
And they also found out that they also realized that there is a high percentage of the women that were sexually abused, or people that were either children that were born from rape during the genocide, or women that were sexually abused. Even men, there were also boys that were sexually abused. So I want to just say women. People that were sexually abused during the genocide that were also experiencing mental health.
Kubera ukuntu iyo viole yakora mu bugome bukomeye, nk'ababyeyi n'ibintu byari byarateguwe,
because that the rape was done very I would say very horribly or terrified, like really like this despicable. Like I don't even know if there's a word for that. It's important to know, because if you have not watched the interview of the testimonies of women that were sexually abused during the genocide, please go to my YouTube channel. We had that conversation on Monday, and it's very despicable. Like the thing that those women went through, it's inexplainable. So you can imagine that also caused a lot of mental health in the people, on the people that survived it, and also on the family of those people that survived it.
abo babyeyi bahuye n'akaga gakomeye wihangane ko ari nko kongera gukomeretsa nawe ibyo wahuye nabyo. Uburyo byakozwemo, uburyo babayimiriye bakamburwa ubusa ku mugaragaro.
So she's actually like realizing that it's triggering me because I was sexually abused. So every time I talk about that, I have a trigger. But so the like the shame that they encountered, because those women, some of them were stripped naked in front of their community. They were abused. They were raped by not one, by not two, but by many people. So that also caused a lot of trauma and a lot of mental health pain.
Abo babyeyi rero bafite ibikomere, tuburire igisobanuro, tuburire igisubizo. Urumva kumva umubyeyi bamushyira hariya n'ibintu byari byarateguwe, bakabashakira abantu babi b'amabandi barwaye sida kugira ngo bazabanduze. Byabasigiye kashe ikomeye ku mutima ku buryo bigora mu by'ukuri kubibonera igisobanuro.
So she's talking about the cases of some women that were put aside, that were raped by many people, and most of those people were HIV positive, that even got sick, became HIV positive because of being raped by gangs. Like it was a gang rape, so there were just many people just sleeping with them to the point of even giving them the HIV, and so they left a mark in their soul that is very hard to heal from, and that is very hard to even understand, and where you don't know where to start from to heal.
Nkaho bitari bihagije kubakorera ibyo mu Kinyarwanda twita ibyamfura mbi, bakazana n'ibikoresho, ibiti, ibimene by'amacupa, abasirikare bagakoresha imitwe y'imbunda kugira ngo bababaze gusa.
As if it's not enough to have gang raped, they will bring. Remember in the testimony that Mr. shared of the people that gave their testimony to him to share, they were mentioning the bamboo stick. But for her, she's also mentioning other things that they use. So they use bamboo stick, they use broken glasses, bottles, they use the gun end of the gun to put it in their private part. So it was not just raping them that was the case, but it was even putting things
bagize ibikomere rero by'indengakamere, noneho bigeraho ababyaye, urumva kubyarana n'umuntu wakwiciye abantu, uwo mwana azaba urwibutso iteka ruhora rukwibutsa bya byago wagize.
So those women, some of them survived, but also some of them got pregnant of those people, and raising a child who was born from rape, it's a remembrance of what happened to you. So it became a constant remembrance. So it's not even, they can't fully heal because that child is a constant remembrance of what they've gone through.
Abo rero ni bamwe mu bantu dukorera terapi, tuganira nabo, ariko nubwo mbivuga gutya ni ukugira ngo numvikanisha akababaro bafite, ariko dufasha n'abandi, memu n'abo ngabo batwiciye abantu, nk'uko nawe nabo muri cya gihe cy'ikizamini n'ubundi mura nabo tugakomeza tugakorana urwo rugendo rwo gukira ibikomere.
So her foundation takes care of those women that went through inexplainable abuse during the genocide, and also the children, and also the mother who raised the children, because those children are not children anymore. They are 27, so they are now adults, but they still, it's still a remembrance. The child is still like reminding them of how they conceived the child, and so they take care of those women. But also her foundation also takes care of the repentant genocide repentant genocide killers who also needs mental health. Like Mr. John, if you did not watch the interview of the repentant genocide killer that is on my on my YouTube channel, I encourage you to watch it, because even him, he needs therapy. Like whether you are a genocide survivor or a genocide killer, you need therapy. So her foundation does not only focus on the genocide survivors, but they also take care of genocide perpetrators that are willing to share the truth, willing to that are repentant genocide killers, to help them actually experience mental health.
Ubwo rero umuryango wacu icyo ugamije cyane ni ukwita ku buzima. Objectif général ni promotion de la santé communautaire.
So the foundation, the main objective of her foundation is to enhance the health, the mental health in the community. So the community, like in Rwanda, we don't have now the Tutsis and the Hutu. In Rwanda, we are united as Rwandans. So her goal and her objective is to promote and enhance the healthcare, the mental health care in communities.
Objectif spécifique ni ukugerageza kubaka umuryango nyarwanda ufite ubudaheranwa, cyangwa se community resilience.
Okay, so her main objective is to build a community resilience, a community that is basically like a oneness, right? Yeah.
Ndumva muri make ari ibyo nagerageje kubishyira muri iki gitabo nise umurunga budaheranwa mu Rwanda.
Mr. or Mrs., can you translate that?
Yes, yeah, it's about resilience. Yeah.
Okay.
Budaheranwa se resilience.
So she wrote a book. So she's an author, and she wrote a book that is in Kinyarwanda called The Resilience of Rwanda.
Yeah.
Ni igitabo gifite ibice bibiri. Igice kimwe cyigisha ku buzima bwo mu mutwe n'ibyo byose abantu bahuye nabyo, n'uburyo butandukanye nifashisha mu gufasha gukira ibikomere nganisha kuri resilience.
So the book has two parts. The first part is to help people to talk about, the first part talks about mental health and how she and her foundation are helping to actually bring awareness in mental health and helping people being aware of their mental health and actually seeking help to be able to experience healing. That's the first part. And then the second part,
igice cya kabiri kigizwe na bwa buhamya bwanjye nagiye mbuvunagura kuko ni burebure cyane, bwa buhamya bwanjye vie personnelle mbere ya jenoside, muri jenoside na nyuma yayo.
So the second part is her biography, her memoir of her, like, so she tried her best to summarize it, but in the book she has like an extended explanation of her time before the genocide, during the genocide, and after the genocide.
nkaba rero narabanje kucyandika mu kinyarwanda ko cyari cyo gufasha abo bantu batazi izindi ndimi
So
ariko
she first wrote the book in Kinyarwanda because her goal was to help people that were in her community. Like she said, her goal is to bring resilience and unity in her community. So because her community mostly is comfortable with Kinyarwanda, she wrote the book in Kinyarwanda.
ariko nkaba nifuza kugishyira mu zindi ndimi ndetse nkaba rwose mfite icyifuzo nka cya kindi nabonye wavuganye na Blaise nifuza ko iyo pariti y'ubuhamya bwanjye nayikoramo film documentaire.
So she said, though she wrote the book in Kinyarwanda, her wish is to translate it in English, but also have the second part, the part of her life, as a documentary. So now my foundation, Seeking Grace Foundation, is a foundation to help people like her, like Cécile, to not only encourage them to write. She already wrote her book, so that's an easy thing, an easy goal for me. So my goal for her is going to help her translate the book in English and in French and also in other languages, and also help her second part to have a documentary. So that's my goal, and that's what my foundation is going to help Ms Cécile to attain that goal. Okay, so now Ms Cécile, yewe ku giti cyanjye ku giti cya foundation yanjye tuzabafasha gukemura izo gusohora icyo gitabo mu cyongereza no mu gifaransa no kubafasha gukora documentaire. Ariko se ni ikihe kintu abandi bantu bashobora kubafasha muri iyo mission mufite ya foundation yanyu?
Reka mbanza ngushimire cyane kuko ubwo bufasha buzafasha kugera ku cyifuzo cyanjye cy'uko nafasha n'abandi bantu iswari yanjye ikaba hari uwo yafasha, hanyuma abantu bagashobora koroherwa gukira ibikomere, gushobora kubivuga, kuko kubivuga ni bumwe mu ntangiriro yo gukira.
So she's thanking me for, actually not thanking me, my foundation. She's thanking my foundation for giving her an opportunity to share her story and allowing her story to impact others and encourage people to share their story so that they can experience mental health. So she's thanking me because that was one of her prayers that was answered. But my question to her, I said, my foundation is willing to, is going to help her translate her books and help her for the documentary. What can somebody else who's watching us, because I know I have many people that are watching, and some of them even have donated in my foundation, which I thank you guys for those who started to donate into this foundation. You are helping people like Cécile to actually start and being able to reach out other people that even beyond other people that need mental health, because mental health is not only for Rwandan people. Even people here need mental health. We all need mental health. So her story is going to help. So I have people that donated in my foundation. I want to thank you because that donation is helping people like Cécile to help others with her pain, that she turned into her purpose, to help others also experience mental health and healing. But I asked her, what can other people, if somebody wants to help her in her foundation, what can they help her for? So she's about to tell you.
Mbere yo kusaba abandi banza nashimire cyane Homicidas wafashije guhura nawe.
And so before she talks about her foundation, she wants to thank Mr. or Ms. Das for allowing us for being the bridge between her and I.
ubundi rero n'undi wese wumva yajya muri wa murongo wa mwana wavuze ngo tiwa enker iriya quelqu'un qui a besoin de toi, rwose abantu bo gufasha barahari, barababaye ni benshi, abarwayi bo mu mutwe barandagaye hirya no hino muri uru Rwanda, abana babo bagira ikibazo cya identite, kuko akenshi abantu bafite ibyo bibazo byo mu mutwe baterwa inda n'abantu batamenye, hanyuma abana bagera muri cya gihe cya adolescence nabo bakagira ikibazo cya identity.
Okay, so she's saying that oh God, it's so deep, but I'm trying, because she says so many deep things. I'm trying to make sure I translate exactly what she said. So she said that her foundation needs a lot of help, because there are many people with mental health that need help and support, but also the children that are born from the people that were sexually abused, and that grew up with no identity, because if you are born from rape, you don't really have your identity, because your father's side of the family doesn't want you. Your mother's side of the family, you are a remembrance of what happened to them. So the children grow up with no sense of identity. So when they get into their adolescence, they actually don't know who they are. So those children need also help, and they need also support for mental health, for therapy. So there's a lot of people in Rwanda that are in need of therapy. So she says she needs help for her foundation. Like, the work is many, but the laborers are few. So that's what she's meaning. She said there's so many people that are in need of therapy, but there's less. There are few laborers, few help. So ni gute bashobora kubafasha, kubatera inkunga? Ni gute mufite ahantu abantu bashobora kubohereza donation? Ni gute abantu bashobora kubafasha?
Bo dufite konte muri banki, nk'uko nakubwiye ko twahinduye izina, turacyari muri procedure yo guhindura kugira ngo ayo makonte yitwe ririya zina rishyashya.
Okay.
Hanyuma dushobora kuzabamenyesha.
Okay, so she's saying that because the previous name was Healthcare
Foundation.
Yeah, the previous name was Healthcare Foundation, and now they changed into Health for Community Development. So they are in process of changing the bank details and the banking details to change into the new name. So they will give us the details of the donation once they are done with all the process. But I encourage you guys to follow the foundation on Twitter and Facebook, Health for Community Development, because you will see the work that they are doing. And then once the details are done, they will put the details for donation. And she's also in process of building a website. So once that is done, it will be easy for people to donate online.
Murakoze cyane.
Nta kibazo. So Ms Umurazawase, mufite icyo kuvuga?
Bo, icyo navuga, murabona ko bya bibazo ubushize twavugaga birebana cyane cyane nk'abantu, abagore n'abakobwa bafashwe ku ngufu, bumvise ko abisubiyemo, agira n'ibyo yongeraho, cyane cyane ko we abafasha. Urumva ibibazo yongeyeho by'indwara zo mu mutwe. Mu by'ukuri nkeka ko umugambi wacu twavugaga ari ukugira ngo bimenyekane, bitazongera kubaho, kandi abagize ibyo byago byo guhura nabyo babonerwe n'ubufasha. Genda umva aricyo cya mbere, ku buryo rero nkeka ko ndamushimira cyane kuko ashoboye kudufasha kugira ibindi yongeraho ku byo twari tuzi. Nkakeka ko rero aduhaye contribution nziza cyane murakoze.
So Mr. or Mrs. is mentioning he's thanking her for actually sharing the the like giving an extension explanation of the people that were taken that were abused and sexually abused, because during his interview on Monday he shared the testimony of few women that shared their story with him, but Ms. Cécile added more details of how those women and their children also are in need of therapy. So he's saying that we are sharing all this so that we can stop and not allow the trauma, the traumatic situation to occur again. So it's a good. The reason why we're doing all this conversation is to bring awareness. Not only bring awareness to mental health, but also bring awareness so that people don't have to go through the same horrific thing that they went through. So we thank her, Ms. Cécile, for actually sharing and even starting this foundation that is helping many people, and that I know will continue to help many people, because mental health is needed. And I'm telling you honestly, even personally, I will say that I know that God healed me, but I thank God for the 15 therapists that I got to meet, because they helped me process my pain and being able to finally being able to share it publicly without shame, because it takes a lot for me to stand here and talk about it. It takes a lot. So yes, so thank you. So Mr. Francois, can you hear us?
Happy.
Oh my God. Okay, that's okay.
Sorry.
So we thank you all for listening to us. Ms. Cécile, mufite mot de conclusion mbere yuko turangiza, kandi murangije igihe bakemurira murarangiza mudusengeye.
murakoze cyane.
So she's saying thank you so much, so she's going to pray.
Reka dusenge. Turagusingiza Nyagasani, turagusingiriza ineza yawe, turagusingiriza urukundo rwawe, turagushimira ko ari wowe waduhaye ubuzima, turagushimira ko washoboye kudukura mu menyo ya rubamba, nk'uko wakuye Daniyeli mu rwobo rw'intare, natwe mu by'ukuri niko wadukuye mu mwobo wa Genocide. Turagushimira ko tugihumeka umwuka w'abazima, kandi tukakwereka n'abagiye. Ntacyo twebwe twabarushaga, turi abanyantege nke, waturokoye kubw'ubuntu bwawe. Tukweretse igihugu cyacu rero, tukweretse abayobozi bacu, tukweretse abaturage bagituye, kugira ngo twese dukomereze mu buntu bwawe. Kandi by'umwihariko tugushimiye uyu mwana wawe Aline wanyujijeho izi gahunda kugira ngo ibi bibazo byose bishobore kumenywa n'isi yose. Isi yose ntikamenye igice kimwe cy'amateka, ahubwo yamenye uko yabaye, hanyuma yakira uko ari, kandi abantu b'umutima mwiza, abantu bagifite rwa rukundo rwawe, ukomeze ubagwirize umugisha. Tubigusabye twizeye mu izina ry'umwami wacu Yesu Kristo.
Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you all for coming, and please follow Ms. Cécile on Twitter and on Facebook, Health for Community Development. And for those who feel like led to donate, please follow up. She has a WhatsApp number on her page. So add her and then ask her for the detail, and I'm pretty sure that she will give you all the details. So God bless you all. Have an amazing Thursday. Goodbye. Bye.